part of that return to normal, part of kind of having some sort of normalcy return to life and kind of not taking sports for granted is sports returning, and that one of them is the NBA, which you are very familiar with. Late last week, we saw Adam Silver announce that there's basically 4 plans that have been narrowed down to resume the year. 16 teams basically go right to the playoffs, a 20-team group stage, 22 teams to fight for seeding in a playing tournament, or 30 teams, bring everyone back, have a truncated small regular season schedule, and then go from there. In your mind, of these 4 options, what's the best to resuming and having a champion?
The 20-team thing doesn't sound terrible to me. I'm not, it all it's difficult. No one's going to be happy with all this. Okay, no one, not everybody. I'm not saying there's going to be people who are happy, and there's going to be people. I think what we're seeing now is that Commissioner Silver has been, without question, one of the more popular sports commissioners in commissioners in professional sports. He's made all the right decisions, starting with the Donald Sterling situation. The NBA is the most socially conscious league. The players love Commissioner Silver. There's really been no real issue between players and owners. I mean, we've got labor peace, the TV money's rolling in. All has been well under the Silver administration until now. And I'm not saying that it's going to blow up, but he's going to have to make a decision that's not going to be popular for everybody. If you invite all 30 teams, then there's 5 or 6 teams that don't want to play. If you invite 20 teams, the team that's already qualified for the playoffs, let's say the Memphis Grizzlies, are like, well, wait a minute, like we gotta turn around and try to compete for a spot that should be ours. Like, there's going to be no one that's going to be completely happy. Everyone's not going to be completely happy. So I tend to think that if you're Silver, you try to do the 20-team thing. You have your New Orleans, Portland, San Antonio, and Sacramento compete for that final spot along with Memphis. In the East, you got Orlando, who is 8th, Washington's 9th. They're 5.5 games back with 18, 19 to play. That would be almost virtually impossible. I mean, the Magic would have to go through a 7-8 game losing streak. The Wizards would have to win 5-6 in a row. That just probably isn't going to happen. So I think you can leave Washington at home, and you bring the Western teams there up to down to Orlando, and you let them fight it out, and you play 6 or 7, 8 regular season games, and therefore you have teams who are fighting for spots like, we still, Indiana and Miami are tied. So you figure that one out. Boston's a couple of games back from Toronto. Utah, Houston, Oklahoma City are kind of in a big, log jam in the West. So you have a lot of little things that need to be decided, and you try to decide that with those 8 regular season games. You figure out who's going to be the 8th team in the West, and then we just move to the playoffs, and you try to have a full playoffs. The one thing is, I think that you're probably going to have to play some back-to-backs. There's no travel, so we're not talking about where you've got to jump on the road like a traditional NBA back-to-back that most teams play. But you do not want to intersect this season with the NFL. Like, you don't want week 2 of the NFL and the NBA playoffs to be coinciding. The NBA don't want to mess with the NFL. Like, as much as the NFL is, quote unquote, lost its popularity, and there's some people upset with Goodell and all that, it's still the number one sport. And if the NFL kicks off on time, the NBA doesn't want to intersect with that deep into that season. So you want to finish this by early September. And so I think you try to rush the playoffs through August, and then, a 7-game conference final, 7-game final series, and then try to end the season as best you can and try to figure out what to do with 2021.
So I'm curious. So, like you said, all right. So Gary, so from what I've read, and correct me if I'm wrong, the league is trying to resume in late July, early August, correct?
Yes.
So in your mind, you think the best way basically have the month of August, squeeze as much, whatever you have to do, whether it's small regular season games to get seating correctly, and then squeeze the playoffs, like you said, back to back, squeeze as much of it as possible. And the drop dead date theoretically should be the week after Labor Day, right on Labor Day, to get out of the NFL's way, to get all the, the playoffs
Yeah,
in on time.
I would say mid-September, but
Okay.
you might have to go into like early October. But as you know, I mean, you're gonna have if baseball gets itself together and figures out what it wants to do, you're gonna have baseball then. You're gonna have college football. if they start, so it could be just. But that's what. That's probably what's gonna have to happen. Like somebody's gonna take a hit, like in this, like ratings wise, it's gonna be the it's going to be the world for the sports fan is never going to be better. I mean, you're going to have MLS soccer. You're going to have all the sports. Maybe if the NHL lasts that long into September, you're going to have the NHL, NBA, college football, pro football, and Major League Baseball all going on at the same time. So pay your cable bill, get your sports channels all lined up because it's going to be a smorgasbord of sports. But if you're the NBA, you don't want to affect next season too much too. It's obvious next season's not going to start on October 20th or when it usually starts. I think we all know that it's going to probably start around Christmas time, the opening game, and they'll try to push it into July, August, September, or whatever. But you also next year have the Olympics. So when you have the Olympics that starts in July, you got to give Team USA a chance to warm up with NBA players. But if it's the playoffs, no NBA players going to play for Team USA. So do you in next season early? Do you have an abbreviated 66 game schedule for next season and cut next season short too? So the NBA's got a lot to do. But I think so for them, they want to end this season as quickly as possible. But you also want to have a full legitimate season. You don't want to have a 5 game series in the finals. You don't want to have anything where people say, that doesn't sound right. You want to have a full playoffs. Now you might cut one of the first round series to 5 games. We'll see. But you want to figure this out to where people consider the season legitimate, even if it's shortened.
So Gary Washburn, national NBA writer for the Boston Globe at G Washburn Globe on Twitter. So Gary, I'm curious. Do you like the idea of pushing the schedule back to where even if not just extra, but going forward, the season starts in December on Christmas Day, let's just say, and then ends in July. Do you like that schedule, or do you kind of like it the way it is now, middle of October, end it in early June with the finals? Which schedule do you think you prefer better for the NBA?
I am completely against starting the season on Christmas. I think that's ridiculous to me. I think that's I don't want to see NBA basketball spread into mid-August. I just think basketball is supposed to end the beginning of the summer. You have your summers off, and then you have baseball, and you have your training camp football. To see the NBA, and you have summer league basketball. To see the NBA spread all the way into August every year, to me, I just think is a bad idea. And I think that you always want your college basketball and your pro basketball to be going on at the same time. If you start, you literally would have a month and a half, almost 2 months of college basketball playing before the first NBA game. I just think there's something wrong with that. I think basketball is a fall/winter sport. I have no issues with it starting in late October and ending in late June. I think that's perfect. I think, and then you give August, September a break, and then you start up again with training camp in late September. I'm not sure, the whole Christmas opening day on Christmas, that sounds great, but I just think that's way too long to wait for basketball. And do you want to really see basketball in mid-August, the NBA Finals? Is that really what we want? Do we want basketball the first 8 months of the year? I don't know. I think it's fine as it is. I think that sometimes Silver is a very open-minded commissioner, but and he's open to new ideas. And I think there's a lot of these uh, quote unquote basketball experts and analytical people that love to toy with the game and want to change things. Some things just leave it alone. I think late October to late June is fine for NBA season.
Gary, that's the perfect segue to the last question I want to ask you here. Like you said, Adam Silver is not afraid to change the format, not afraid to change and tinker with the game to try to make it more appealing, whether it's to the younger audience, to the fans, or just try to make it better for the overall game. So I'm curious, in your mind, does the NBA format, the NBA playoff format overall need to change, or do you like East West 1 through 8, and that's that, or do you think it should change to seeding 1 through 16, playing tour, all these different formats we have now possible? Do you like any of these ideas as a full-time playoff format, or do you like the way it is now?
No, I like the way it is now. I don't like the whole let's have West and East. I think that there are certain things that, just I said, sometimes you toy too much with. And, do you really want a Boston Portland first round? Like, some of this is like, it sounds great on paper, it sounds great uh, theoretically, but you don't want these teams zigzagging all over the country to try to for playoff series, for first round series. And I think there's always something to be said for regional rivalries. That to me, that's something that I think that definitely gets undervalued. Is that having these we look at Lakers Kings in the 2000s, and now Golden State Houston recently, Cleveland Boston. Like, you look at these top regional Eastern Conference, Western Conference rivalries. And to me, that's what I think is undervalued here, is some of these great rivalries that are in the conference. And so, if you want to eliminate that, to me, leave the Eastern Conference champion, the Western Conference champion to fight it out in the finals. I think that's best. If sometimes the best two teams are in the same conference, well, that's happens in every sport. That's just the way it is. You know, we can't toy with everything to try to change it. I think that sometimes you just have to leave it as it is. I think it's fine.
You can read Gary on the Boston Globe. He does great work, not just for the Celtics, but also the NBA at G Washburn Globes, where you can follow him and find a lot of his work. Gary, really appreciate the time. Hopefully, stay safe, stay well, and hopefully we can talk some basketball sooner and get some playoff games to discuss. Thanks so much for the time.
Sounds good, Ryan. Thank you.